Part 3 of Sedna, Voice for the Abandoned and Ignored, with Debbie Kyle Levitt, that's me, at the San Diego Astrological Society, begins with information and a link on an underworld goddess experience available in November 2014 on Malta with me through Sacred Sites Journeys. That's followed by links to videos on YouTube regarding the Maltese underworld goddess sites there. I was lucky enough to have some of the very knowledgeable attendees from this Sedna lecture join me for the discussions on the videos. All the links can be found on my website at this is one word, Debbie Kyle Astrologer, DEBBIEKEIL astrologer.com. Then we continue with more celebrity and political Sedna figures.
Okay, so getting back to Sedna, what I was going to mention, because I wasn't thinking about it, was back in the back, I was talking about the underworld goddesses and how they were in Malta. I'm doing a free online lecture on Malta and the underworld goddesses and the astronomy. Their temples there were astronomy temples as well as underground goddess temples. So it ties with the Sedna theme. So if any of you want to do that, it's July 20th, a Sunday, and I have I'm doing two, one for friends in England, who want to hear it, and then a later one for West Coast. So you'll see that on those sheets of paper there. And I'm also leading a group to Malta in November. So those are some of the flyers. And someone actually asked for my cards. It was like, oh, maybe I should put some cards out. So there's some cards in the back. If some of you want to know more information about Sedna, I'm reachable through my website. There's an email address that goes directly to me. So.
Where is Malta?
Malta is just south of Sicily, and it's east of Tunisia, where it juts up. It's close, like I think it's a 3-hour ferry ride from Sicily.
They film a lot of films there, don't
they? They do,
yeah.
and in fact, I was sitting there and I thought, well, good, some glamour's going, because they had pictures of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie out looking for sites for a movie she's planning on doing. So, they're going to have some more glamour there. Popeye was filmed there. I don't know if you remember the old Popeye, but the Popeye village still stands there, so that was there. And that was a colorful period. I was hearing stories. I was transcribing some interviews a fellow did about all the artists they had on Malta doing Popeye. And it was a pretty insane scene. So I guess it was pretty colorful, but it was an artist's haven. And since that was back when it was, I think there were all sorts of chemicals and natural herb enhancements and things going on. One fellow said, I think every drug cartel coming into Europe got sidetracked to Malta. They cornered it all. So it was a pretty. Pardon me?
Where are the bodies?
It's in the Med. It's in the Mediterranean. Yeah. And south of Sicily. So, and like I said, pretty close to Sicily. And it's actually 2 major islands and then a few smaller ones. And there's a feminine and a masculine one. The feminine one is Gozo and the masculine one is Malta. And there are all these twin temples at the same time. So it's very interesting. It's about balancing the masculine and the feminine. You can see it. And the temples are actually older than the pyramids and older than Stonehenge. And they're freestanding. They think they're the oldest freestanding temples in the world that they've discovered. They are the oldest freestanding temples in the world. So it's a pretty remarkable place. So anybody interested, I'm leading a group in November. So all that information is back there. And if you don't find, and some of the flyers got passed out, if you don't find one and you're interested, just let me know at the end. And now we'll get back to our Sedna goddess. And I did speak with some people to brag about, there's anger, with Sedna. When you have abandonment, injury, the types of things that happened to Maya Angelou. And as we said, probably Natalie Wood. And, there's an angry voice of what has happened to children and the feminine and humanity and it's that voice. So this is my example, and I was rather amazed because I hadn't thought that much about Heather Mills, but She is what I would call an angry Sedna, but also someone who, once again, we're dealing with the extremities, but yet she worked for the sea lions, the seals in Canada. In other words, very Sedna thing to do, because those were her animals too. All the seals, the whales, but the reindeer as well were considered her animals. But she does the beautiful goddess, and she's controversial, and she can demand that humanity care for its fellow beings and its mother. She is many things, but she is a Daisy. And that's kind of how I view this woman. I suspect Mr. McCartney might agree with me. But in any case, she is beautiful and she does some pretty amazing things. But this was her accident, and I don't have the time of the accident. So and I don't have her birth time. So I'm still limited, but she's still got powerful Sedna.
What happened?
Yeah, she was, it's one of those ironies. She was apparently fighting with her boyfriend. And there were motorcycles there had been an alarm sounding at Princess Diana's residence in Kensington Palace. One motorcycle passed and she stepped out in front of the other one without looking, and she lost her leg below the knee. So this is another thing she was doing, was when she realized that she kept getting new prosthetic legs, she made sure that she had spent a lot of time skiing in Croatia and Serbia and those areas. So she was making sure that the other prosthetic legs went to people there. So once again, it's the loss of an extremity. And yet she's a beautiful goddess. And she had transiting Sedna conjunct Black Moon Lilith, which some of you maybe use Lilith and some of you don't. And but it's also a rock. I call it the rock and roll goddess. She's pretty dark and she's pretty intense. But some of you may have heard the Lilith Festival. It's women's. It's the woman who would not lie beneath Adam in that mythology. So she got to be a rock and roll goddess, at least for a while, and she had transiting Uranus Neptune, conjunct the Sun, and that was triggering the natal Sedna North Node. So she had a lot of Sedna activity happening at that time.
Natal chart data and accident date chart data?
Yeah, like I said, the time I don't have. She was born January 12th, 1968, and that was Aldershot, England. And like I said, time unknown. And then the accident was August 8th, 1993, and that was in London. So, and thank you for reminding me. I'm terrible about that for the recording.
Is there a time for the accident?
No, I made a guess at it, but I just used noon, simply because I couldn't find anything. Probably if you could get the accident record, which might be published somewhere, knowing how the British tabloids are. But I don't know, because it became a court case too. So in any case, it was a daytime from what I understand, but I don't know much more than that. But she did step out in front of the motorcycle going to Princess Diana's. So it's kind of strange, 6 degrees from somebody, Anyway, do any of you know who Lula da Silva is? Yeah, you would. I think he was a marvelous leader. He's got I was looking at his transits and it explains it. He had, some things that went on in his administration that they're questioning now, as far as ethics and that sort of thing. But basically, he did the most amazing things for Brazil, and he's pro-labor, he's pro-climate, he's a pro-climate change activist, president of Brazil from 2003 to 2011. And this is a quote from the Washington Post. Under Lula, Brazil became the world's 8th largest economy. More than 20 million people rose out of acute poverty, and Rio de Janeiro was awarded the 2016 Summer Olympics, the first time the Games will be held in South America. And he is another one who, he grew up in great poverty, and he was a people's person. And when he got involved in politics was when he lost his finger in an industrial accident. And because of the way things were then, even though it was an industrial accident, they had to take him to something like 9 hospitals before they would treat him. So he became a labor advocate and a people's advocate after that. And I think he was a marvelous leader for Brazil, but that's me.
Wasn't he also the one that just had a 4th grade education?
I think he didn't have an advanced education at all. Yeah, that's correct.
And that's
But
kind of amazing right there. Comes head of a country.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Do you know any more about him?
I don't know all the details. I know that he is from the poor.
Yeah, and he was. I am assuming he's still much beloved, but there were some scandals in his administration. But
The current president is his successor, his groomed protege, and there's a lot of controversy about her.
Oh, is that it? Yeah, and they've been trying to drag him into it, but but that's basically it. But that's now this is a real activist for Sedna, and he even has the finger to prove it, or lacks the finger to prove it. So pretty remarkable man. And then I thought the governor would be good to look at. Now I started looking through his history again because I know quite a bit. I lived here until a few years ago, so I remember Jerry Brown. He actually borrowed towels from my house once. Cheryl knows about that. A friend of mine used to work in the headquarters, the Democratic headquarters, when he was running for governor a long time ago. And his fluff and fold didn't come, so he always went to his own house when he was in LA. So they had to deliver she lent him our towels, so that he'd have he could shower when he went home. So it was kind of funny, but I'm a Jerry Brown fan. I actually like him. I know there are things that a lot of people don't love about him, but where he keeps getting in trouble, as we know, he's got Sedna conjunct the sun, another Sedna, important Sedna, by the midheaven, and it's square moon and a really wide conjunction to Pluto. So if you, I'm trying to think, what was the name of the crisis again, Deborah? The one where they had the med flight. Yeah, I mean that was during his first administration, and now it's fracking, and there are a lot of things where the man is just a crisis that's in his lap all the time. And you can see it from his chart. He's not going to get away from those issues. And ecology is just going to be crucial in his life. Does anybody have any comments or anything about Jerry? If anybody studies his chart or anything? Because I'm in California. I thought maybe somebody was
Do you
into
see
it.
a drought there anywhere? Because I see Ceres up there, right? That Ceres is in the sun.
Yeah, now that's his birth chart. I didn't do any transits to this time. But we'll see now. We've got transiting Sedna has already been across his Mars. And let's see what other aspects we got
That'll
of
dry
that.
it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be conjunct that south node. But it's gonna take 4 or 5 years for that to happen. We'll see it in some of the people over here. Yeah, it's interesting. I hope not, but it would be, where the grass doesn't grow, things don't bloom. She takes away sustenance is what she does when she's not real happy with people. It's sort of odd to me that California is the best state in the country for that sort of thing, and it's getting a lot of the brunt of it, but so is the rest of the country. I mean, there are weird things happening everywhere, and the droughts in the Southwest and Texas and Oklahoma, those have been pretty wicked too. I mean, things are out of balance, and if we can't make that out, it's like Sedna's going, yeah, hello, and then I decided, well, see, how about the Koch brothers? And I always found it odd that they are MIT graduates. I mean, they actually fund NOVA, yet they're major funders of climate change deniers. They oppose the campaign, opposition to campaign fund reform. They oppose Wall Street reform. They oppose the minimum wage increase. They oppose Obamacare. They oppose unionized workers, and they're into fracking too. You know, I mean, it's it's
they are.
and it's funny because you can see it. I thought, well, I'll see what Sedna is doing in these charts, and in Charles Koch, the CEO, it's opposing his Mercury, and it is in a wide. No, I guess it's not that way. It's actually squaring his nodal axis. So you can see where you can do something positive with Sedna, or you can ignore her, and I guess you can still get rich. I mean, here's the other one, David. Pardon me?
It's from Daddy,
Oh yeah, it is.
Well,
They,
but
they have done some good things, and I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a fan.
Right.
Lawrence O'Donnell just came back from a bad accident, and when he came back, he saw the plaque on the wall to the people who healed him, and it was these guys who go to the wing of the hospital.
Oh yeah, they do a lot. They do a lot for charity. They do a lot
Just
more,
saying.
but they do. Yeah.
they make about, I think it's $2 million an hour.
Mhm.
They've got to give their money away. One of them had cancer, so he's big on that.
Yeah.
But don't look at these guys as any altruistic.
No,
guys.
I don't.
No.
Like I say, I see his name funny,
They're not.
Nova, and I like Nova.
Of course.
You know, I mean, I wish more money would go to altruistic causes and less
Right.
to controlling our political system. That would make me happy. But I just thought it was rather interesting to look at this, and it's sextile is Venus. I mean, he makes a lot of money from under the ground. That's where the original money came from. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it's interesting. It can show up a lot of different ways, even if you oppose the environment and you just want whatever amount of money you can get. It's rather profound.